What's up, jobbers, and welcome to the newest edition of the Jobber Knocker podcast. It's always a new year, new us. A lot to talk about, JC. Do you feel new?
I was born new, baby. I am new. That doesn't even make any fucking sense. We're not new. We're fucking old, bro. We were born like years ago. You a lot longer than me.
Do you Netflix and chill?
I Netflix and Raw now. Some Raw chillage. Raw dogging every Monday, baby.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Netflix and raw dogging it. Oh, man. That's a shirt. Oh, man. I'm here to talk about... No, we're not. No, we're not, Bert. No, we're not. I refuse to give that person any value.
Nope. She and many other people attended the Raw Netflix, but she isn't cool enough to be shown in the crowd like many others were. You ready, Nestle? Yeah. You want me to get you even more upset with Bert right off the bat? He had no idea who Topanga was. Yeah.
Bert.
Yeah.
We're going to have this. This is a serious problem. This is Bert. I mean, we can talk about this later, but Jesus Christ, if you don't know who Topanga is, jeez, how old is Bert? 20-something? I don't know.
I never reveal another man's age.
Bertsky, holy shit. I mean, Topanga Lawrence. How do you not know Topanga? I mean, Jesus. I don't know. Neither did I. Just you guys. Well, anyway, let's just get into the bigger part of the show. We've got Smackdown. We've got Raw. We got NXT. We have some AEW we can probably talk about too. So let's get right into it, JC. Where do we always start?
Always in the shine, baby. And in 2025, I'm thinking, man, we got to start our shine off right. So let's go to AE. No, not quite. Nestle, I'm thinking about this. And we obviously had a major moment on SmackDown, but we had the Raw Netflix debut. And to me, I'm going to start with what I was looking most forward to. And that was on Raw Netflix debut. And that was the tribal combat between Roman Reigns and Solo Sikoa. I love that this started off the show because I got right into it. And I will say that, like, after this was over, I think I kind of like leveled out, but this was the high point for me. I mean, this is what I wanted to see. I mean, who doesn't want to see Roman Reigns wrestle? We get to see it like 4 times a year at this point. I was very excited for Solo. We obviously had the great table setters on SmackDown with that Heyman and Solo promo where Heyman said how he and Roman were both grooming Solo to be the next tribal chief. And that put the thing in the back of your head like, man, is Heyman really going to help Solo? Obviously, it didn't end up happening because the more we got closer to it, I was like, they're not going to have Roman lose. They're going to have him get a nice definitive win here with the new audience and all this. And poor Solo's going to go in the same place Liv went and many others that once we get into WrestleMania season, we have the others come back. And unfortunately, the people who have been carrying the weight all year go to the wayside. But it was at least cool that Solo got to be a part of this. I did enjoy this match. I enjoyed all this nonsense. This was the story I was most looking forward to. And I thought it was a great way to kick off the Netflix Raw era.
So there's a lot that I could think about here. I mean, we could talk about Triple H, we can talk about The Rock and all that other stuff. The one thing I thought was like, okay, you cowards, you didn't let Solo have his moment, because I feel like that would have been important. But as I was watching more and more of Raw, I had to remind myself this Raw wasn't necessarily for the regular viewing audience. This was a reset. This was an introduction to a bigger crowd, a bigger audience. So this really, as much as this was a fantastic episode, I don't think this was really geared towards the hardcore fan base, which is fine. It's a little alarming to me and a little bit like, oh, I had to sit through this thing. And parts of it felt like, okay, there's nothing new that happened. I feel like as much as I enjoyed the tribal combat because it was more of a cinematic feeling.
It was like a mini version of what happened at WrestleMania because you had Cody and KO running out. You obviously had all the bloodline nonsense. So, you know, it was to me like this was fun because, like when we saw the card, we're like, okay, it's 4 matches, but we're getting payoffs here for at least 2 of these. And then, another, maybe even 3. It depends how we want to look at it. But it's just like, we expected it to have a lot of the gaga, and we're going to talk about the appearances and all the shoehorns and all the nonsense and whatever. But I still think it was one of those things. It's like, look it. We're entering Royal Rumble season, so we are going to wrap up these long-term stories. Like this Solo Roman thing has been building pretty much since last WrestleMania. Liv Rhea has been building since the fucking beginning of time. But it's like we're going to pay these off because we're going to the next step. And to me, like I thought this was necessary for Roman, especially if we start to think about where he might be going the next couple months, that they really couldn't. If Solo wins, that means this isn't over. And I think to move this forward to wherever Roman goes next, this book had to close, unfortunately. So I am curious to see what happens with Solo and the Tamas and Tongas and Jacobs as we move forward. But I still think hopefully that they'll have a nice spot. But at least, people know who Solo is now.
I think they did a good job, especially in that match with the amount of run-ins. I think the overarching theme for the entire night for me, which would have been nice, was especially like if there was maybe like a lower third for some of these things, not necessarily the run-ins, but I feel like the audience that doesn't know their names yet. So that, I mean, like, not like we'll talk about other things going forward about who was featured and who wasn't, but Jacob Fatu made the minutes count with that particular moment there. And I just think that when I watched him, I went, man, this guy is such a superstar. This is such an amazing thing to get excited about. So I'm really, really excited for the future of what's going on here.
Yeah, I mean, look, that's why I love the run-ins, because one of those things we saw the theme all night was them putting, like, especially their superstars or their champions in the crowd and make sure to ID them, whether it was on both shows for Raw and SmackDown, which I think was important. But it obviously was something like this. It's like you let Jacob Fatu go out there and does what he does best, and if people want to know who he is, they're going to find out. So he'll get his chance, but they're not really on Raw either, which is the funny part, that this SmackDown feud kicked off the final Raw, but we obviously know why it did it.
Our boy Birdsky says Solo takes some time off and Jacob just roams the locker room confused, yelling, "Where is Solo?"
Well, they also got to wait time for Tongalo to come back. He's the key. That's why Solo couldn't win, because the key to his success. What does he call him? He's his.
Oh Jesus!
I don't remember what he called him.
No, right-hand man was.
No, right-hand man's Tama. So Tongalo was something else, because Jacob Fatu's his enforcer. So whatever the other one is, that's the missing piece, and that's why Solo lost.
Moving on, what else did you really enjoy?
We should go to Smackdown Nestlemania, because it's not clobbering time. It's Tiffy time. She's the new champion, baby. I kind of loved the way they did this, because this wasn't at the end of the show. Because if this match closed the show, you really would have thought about it. But it was one of those, obviously they wanted to treat this SmackDown as a big SmackDown, but I feel like there wasn't really hype coming in that this was going to be the night it was going to happen. I think people more expected more of the same, and like, if they haven't done it at this point, it's probably going to drag out even longer. So I love that they just did it, and I love that they did it with the spot they did it on the card. And I thought pretty much the execution of this was flawless. And now we are heading into Rumble season with Tiffany Stratton as the WWE Women's Champion.
I really love the fake out, because I thought, it was really interesting to me that she did it, and then she, did the swerve and then waited again and got rid of Candice, and then, did it again. It was wonderful. I love the shot, like the aerial shot of watching her get ready to do the moonsault. Like, and she's like hurrying up and ramping up the crowd and stuff. Like, I just thought that was wonderful. And then she won and everybody went bananas. And then you went on to Monday at Netflix, and then you see the pan of the crowd, and they panned to her and the whole place exploded. So you're just like, as we say in the Jobber Knocker thread, pop don't lie. So to say that she's going places is probably underestimating how popular she is, but I'm not going to, wear the shirt and say the line. So I'm going to just leave it there.
I don't think your powers are strong enough to halt the Tiffy time, Nestlemania.
I mean,
she is on a rocket ship, and I think they landed this one perfectly, because I think it was time. I think we all knew it was time. Nia did a great job. Nia and Naomi did a great job in that, but it was just like, Tiffy time has never been more of the perfect time for it, and I think people are ready for it. And I'm assuming she'll have a short little program here with Nia, but I am very curious to see where she is going forward, especially in a WrestleMania.
Wanted to bring this to your attention as well as everybody else in the chat. I'm curious your thoughts. Just because the timing of when she's won, do you think she leads this into WrestleMania?
I would think she'll be the defending champion going into WrestleMania. And it just depends at this point who she faces. I think, I saw someone mention in the chat earlier that we're thinking there might be someone digging. That's obviously a matchup that has been pretty much set up since Tiffy showed up on our television, little blonde versus blonde action. But we'll see. I don't know. Who knows? Maybe they don't do that now. But I would definitely say that is probably where I'm leaning at this point of expectation.
I mean, let's be honest here. NXT's the factory. If Charlotte ever leaves, we were saying Tiffany Stratton seems like a very slide right in player and in that particular role. So to see the old versus the new version of that particular, character. In my opinion, they seem very similar and have similar backgrounds. Uh, I can see that happening. Our boy, the Joe Stopper, says the fact that there were so many title changes this week really brings so much uncertainty to the Royal Rumble, and I'm here for it, which I agree, Joe. I think this is a very exciting time, and it's going to be interesting to see what happens next.
That's kind of why I loved what happened on Monday, because we closed the book on, at least for now, Roman and Solo. So that opens up Roman not knowing what he's going to do. We'll talk about The Rock in a bit with all his fucking nonsense, but what if that means anything or not? But it's like Joe's 100% right. And another part of my shine was Cena's promo coming back, declaring for the Rumble. I think that's exciting. We're hitting the ground running. We expect that he'll probably come up short in the Rumble and then have to go to the Chamber and so on and so forth, if that is his road to WrestleMania, as we shall say. But you obviously have Punk standing tall over Rollins, so it puts him as a favorite for the Rumble. I believe he's entering it as well. So it makes it curious what's Gunther doing at the Rumble. You know what I mean? So it's just, there's a lot of uncertainty in the men's picture and also the women's, because look at Liv Rhea, Rhea's got her title back now. So we assume that Rhea will be the champion going into Mania. So that opens the women's Rumble wide open as well, of different type of opponents. And if we do think it's Charlotte and Tiffy, I doubt they have Charlotte win it. So it means the winner would probably be the person who would face Rhea. So there's a lot of uncertainty there. So yeah, I think Joe hit it right on the head. That's why I kind of loved about them closing some of these books and kind of flipping stuff around, because I feel like the last couple of years, we kind of knew what we were doing for the most part. So having it all over the place and all different types of contenders this year, I think is super exciting.
Just to end this on a note here, we got Danny saying Tiffy versus Becky. We got our boy
We saw that already. We saw that in NXT.
Birdsky saying a triple threat between Tiffy, Charlotte, and the Man. And then, of course, Tiffany versus Becky makes more sense as the Joe Stopper. So, I mean, look.
Does it only make more sense because we've already seen it? I don't know why that makes more sense. I think that makes less sense because we've already seen that feud. They could do it again, sure, but we literally just saw that last year for 2 months on NXT.
Yeah, that's true. Very true. But to end to your Cena comment, it's so funny when I watch him. It's in my head, I'm thinking to myself, I don't think John Cena is going to show up on any other, maybe Saturday night's main event, but I don't think we're going to see him until the Royal Rumble. It feels like they're going to save these appearances, because in my head, I'm like, okay, that's one of 36. He's probably going to do some live events here.
I think it's 3 more Raws before the Rumble, because the Rumble's
something like that. It's on February 1st.
Yeah, so we have 3 more Raws before the Rumble. So yeah, maybe he's on one, or maybe they just do some pre-produced packages.
I just don't see them using that, especially if he's not going to wrestle right away. And I think the importance here in that promo that he said was, I gotta win a match, because I haven't won a match in 2,000 days.
That's
or something.
why I think we might see him on a Raw before the Rumble, and maybe he wrestles just to get him a dub. But who knows?
I don't think so, because I think the big dub here has to be a Rumble or a Chamber to be the big feel.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Because here's the slot of it in my head, right? If he wins the Royal Rumble, it's uncertain until he gets to the end. If it's the Elimination Chamber, it's sort of the similar thing where he kind of wins, but he doesn't if he doesn't become the last one standing. So I'm kind of leaning towards what you say when it comes to almost winning the Royal Rumble and coming up short, having to go into the Elimination Chamber, maybe coming up short, maybe winning. I don't know. I just think the reason he threw in the Money in the Bank thing to me is super interesting. The only reason I say that is because this is an additional hope on my end. If John Cena does it, this is what I would think. He comes up short, goes off into his own little Cena universe and dealing with people he wants to deal with.
Logan Paul.
And enters Money in the Bank, wins Money in the Bank, and you're like, all right, he's punching his ticket, and then now you don't know when he's showing up. You don't know if it's going to happen. And then he can cash. I think that's more exciting, because the anticipation of Money in the Bank to me, and the finite window of being now to December, just right there just feels like, you know what I mean? It just feels like it could happen that way, in my opinion. I don't know why. Just a gut feeling that I feel like if we're going to anticipate this shit, you know what I mean? I can see the briefcase coming into play in terms of person pushing the merchandise and stuff too. So I think you're probably right that it's probably going to be something special at WrestleMania for him, but who knows? It could be anything.
Well, it'll be interesting too, because obviously we know this is a year-long run. Do they want to have him win that title in fucking April? Or if it's Money in the Bank, like that's the first week of July. So you'd think SummerSlam, which is August, and it's one like, is it one of those things where like we want him to win it in his last match, whenever that is, or is it one of those things where we want him to actually be a champion for a while? I think it's kind of interesting, but obviously it's also like a WrestleMania moment's a WrestleMania moment. So but to me, it sure feels like the Rumble's an easy one to come up short. And then if you do want him in a title match at WrestleMania, maybe he wins the Chamber, but then you could have him win or lose at WrestleMania, depending on what you're doing. So I don't know. It's certainly interesting, but as I'm looking at like the two current champions and kind of thinking, I'm like, if both of them are champions going into WrestleMania, I think Cena is a good opponent for both, but it's one of those things. It's like, does he beat either of them or does he lose to either one no matter what? And it's also just like, is Gunther still going to be the champion going into WrestleMania? Because it's one of those things like when we're kind of looking at the other players, it's like, well, if depending who we think's going to win the Rumble, do we see them facing Gunther or Cody, or do we maybe like see something else? And, also with like someone like CM Punk having a favor owed to him, does somehow Roman get a belt on him before Mania? So I think there's a lot of interesting things with it, but Cena is obviously one of the biggest dominoes.
I have a feeling that I just don't, we can talk about The Rock later, but I feel like the way things are lining up here, CM Punk is going to factor into one of the main events. I just feel like that seems pretty logical.
Him or Cena winning the Rumble seems like the most likely outcome to me. And if I don't think Cena's going to win it, that tells you who I'm leaning towards at this point.
Right. I agree.
But it's just is Punk Gunther big enough? Probably not. So it's like you're either doing Punk Cody or you're doing Punk Roman. And if it's Roman, how is Roman getting the title? So.
And to be that close to the finish line at being at WrestleMania, walking in as champion, and then not to get it feels like a disservice to both of those champions, at least in my opinion. So it's weird. It's definitely weird.
I think if Cody or Roman could both lose to Punk at Mania, and it'd be fine.
He's wearing a CM Punk shirt there.
It's a CM Punk shirt. I was trying to think of which one I wanted to wear, and I was just like, so many of my shirts are outdated. It's funny, like this guy who was gone from the company we thought never coming back is one of the few current superstars I actually have.
There you go. Anything
this
else?
Is a very old shirt. This is from when he was obviously in WWE the first time. So,
anything else you want to talk about?
Yeah, we definitely have more shine here. I do want to mention this because I thought this was one of the coolest parts of SmackDown until we saw Tiffy Time cash in. But the McIntyre Cody stuff. And McIntyre just giving him a hug. Like, I loved how they did this because, man, it's just one of those things like Mac, it feels like he's just done everything he can on Raw. Like he's feuded with all the top stars. He's done it all. It's been a great year. But like you put him on SmackDown, it's like a whole new adventure. And just seeing him with Cody and he has this dynamic with KO going on. And obviously he's still upset with the bloodline and all that. It's just like, it's such an interesting thing. I'm assuming it happens in this transfer window, which is still kind of going, which Braun's the only official one we got, but it sure feels like that's where McIntyre's heading. And it's one of those things. It's like, is he a threat maybe to be a Cody WrestleMania opponent, or does that probably happen before then? And like, also it's just like, he obviously has stuff to do with Roman, and it seems like, maybe he's finished with Jay at this point, but I don't know. But I thought that segment was awesome. Just the way he hugged them. Cause obviously those who know, they were tag team champions together as well. So they have that history, but it was just a lot going on in that very little short segment. But I was like, man, this is good TV.
Not to also, Cody mentioned it too, when he said they were kindred spirits and that they both had to leave to come back and become bigger stars. And like, I was like, okay, I can see this, the parallels are really cooking here. And so when that essentially becomes a real feud, man, that's going to be fun. I don't know. I just feel like, it's so interesting to me that you can't really call what WrestleMania is going to be this year. And even on the day, even on, April, was it 17, 18 or whatever it is? I forget what the dates are, but like, it feels like even on the day there's uncertainty to be like, well, The Rock could just show up.
Well, he's obviously a big domino because if he's wrestling it, judging by Monday, it sure feels like it's Roman or nothing. I'm leaning towards the nothing. We can talk about that, get into that more a little later if you want. But it's the big dominoes. But I think it's one of those things. Triple H has even kind of said it. He's like, look, in the past, we've had these things super mapped out because we know like Vince would have them mapped out. But he's like, in this new era where we have things, like we can kind of change these on the fly. I think last year kind of showed them. It's like, look at, man, like we have so many superstars, and we've gone like forever not really listening to like fans and just kind of stubbornly doing whatever we wanted. It's like one of those things now. We showed last year that like when we just ride that, and when they've done it in the past with Kofi and Daniel Bryan, when we ride that momentum, that's the best it can be. So I think they probably have like a list of several different ones, and they're like, you know what, let's just try stuff out. And we also have to see who's available in terms of Rock, and then Cena obviously is now. So it's one of those that I think they probably have an idea now at this point, since we're getting closer to the Rumble, but I feel like it's been way less preparation, just being like, look at, man, let's just make good TV. We have a lot of great feuds going on. Let's see what happens, because we have plenty of guys and gals to match up and make great matchups for the big show. So
well put. Anything else you'd like to talk about?
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about the main roster enough at this point, so we got to go to NXT because it's on Wednesday, baby, and we can talk about it. And we have 2 new champions, actually, technically 3 new champions on NXT, if you count the Heritage Cup with what's his name winning for real this time. But they kicked off the show hot. This was a match that when Julia showed up, I'm like, okay, Julia Roxanne, when is it? I want to watch it, and it delivered. It's now the Julia era in NXT. I'm very excited for it. Roxanne will likely be in the Rumble, and she is probably officially main roster bound at this point. Maybe she gets a rematch. I don't know, but I love this. I thought this was a great way to kick off the show. These are the 2 best women in NXT, I think, in the ring. So to see them get this match was great. And Julia is she's here. She's arrived, and it's her division now.
I find it slightly head scratching, but I get it in a certain way. I felt like Stephanie Vacker had more fanfare and more like, oh, mystique kind of feeling.
I don't know.
But then the minute Julia showed up, they're like, uh-oh.
Well, Julia was first.
No, I know, but I'm just saying, like in their head, they probably thought Stephanie was probably going to be the better, longer play. And then when Julia showed up, it was just like, you can't deny any of that. Like,
yeah, I don't know. I mean, the minute I saw Julia, I was like, Julia's going to be the one to take it off Roxanne. That was immediately I went, and I'm like, Vacker will probably be the one to take it off Julia. But she got picked up a big win on the show as well. She'll be facing, she won't be facing Fallon. She has to beat now Shotzi, who threw her hat in the ring. But it's one of those things, like, I kind of like that they're going to keep them apart for a bit, because that obviously is the next big match. But you know, I mean, this division is stacked. We talk about it. Look at the other woman in this match, Kalani and my girl Lola, who's a fucking stud, and just all the women that weren't even. But the whole first hour at NXT tonight felt like it was all women, because that show is carried by the women's division, because it's the best women's division in wrestling, and it's so fucking good. It just is so good. Yeah, it's true.
That's what must be sick. No, listen, I'm not sick that she's a British champion. She's also is she Italian?
She's Italian. She's Italian, Japanese, British. She's like, I know she's Italian and Japanese, but I think she lived in Britain. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think she's.
You have to read her bio, but
I don't. Yeah. I think she is Italian and Japanese.
There's a reason why one of her moves was called the Riva Dirce.
Yeah. I'm just saying. I think she spent some time in where you live, Daniel. Not is necessarily British. So
yes, but either way, she's a stud.
Yes, I tend to agree. But the one elephant in the room we haven't talked about, JC, let's get fucking going.
Boom, 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 boom. Meat. We're kicking off 2025 with the greatest meat man of all time. Obafemi is the new NXT World Champion. And obviously, we knew when they put that fucking dork Eddie Thorpe in this match, it's like he's going to fuck it up. And it's going to make it a thing so they can save the Oba trick one-on-one. I'm assuming they'll do it at their next big PLE before Trick probably is called up. But it was just like, dude, Oba is so fucking awesome. And I'm so happy that he is the NXT champion. And I love the shot of him and Julia with the titles. I'm like, boom, NXT, new era. You have that fucking show, which we're going head-to-head with right now, that airs on Wednesdays, talking about a new era. They talk about it. They don't do it. NXT just fucking does it. They don't have to fucking hype it up. They're just like, look at, boom, we're in the new era. They showed us. And I couldn't be more excited.
So, of course, our old man, Joe, the backcracker in here with his stupid face says, what does that mean? Or did I just hear the washing machine start up? You clearly don't watch NXT, bud. That's all I got to say about that. He's a fucking unit. By the way, go to tpublic.com/jobberknocker today to buy He's a Fucking Unit merchandise. You're welcome to JC and TJ on that one. I'm going to have to find I think I'm going to buy a mug that says He's a Fucking Unit, because it's just fucking funny to have a cup that says He's a Fucking Unit. So that was great. I love that. When I saw the whole thing of like Eddie getting attacked and then had to stumble in and everybody was wondering what was happening. And then when I saw him get in there, I went, okay, well, they're not going to give it to Eddie Thorpe. You know, like he's in there for something. And then when I saw that the ending with the chair and then turning around and when Oba picked him up and just slammed his ass down, I was just like, I was sitting on the edge of my seat, and on that 3 count, I exploded, and I was just like, yeah. And then the fucking, the confetti and the whole just the fucking boom, 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 just the entrance. Like anybody else that does the fucking walk during the entrance like that would look like a buffoon.
Yeah, he
but
looks like
so
fucking
massive.
hacksaw. It's a slow hacksaw, pretty much.
Well, no, that's the Bushwhackers.
Well,
but
yeah, yes.
But I mean, like I'm beside myself when I watch him walk. It's just like when he does the walk, I'm just like, anybody else on this entire planet would look goofy, but him, it just fits, and it's so much fun to watch him, to see him grow, and you cannot deny this guy is going to be. Like, again, they just keep cranking these motherfuckers out. It's unfucking.
They ain't never cranked one out like him. Not this boy. This boy is something special. I mean, look, it's the word that's thrown around a lot the last couple of years is the word aura. But Obafemi is the definition of having aura. Because it's like you can't teach it. It's just there. You know it when you see it. And the first time I saw him on my screen, I was like, oh. It's like, I mean, we like, oh. It's like when Braun's entrance first came with the Roar, we were all watching together, and I jumped up. Like, that was the same thing with Oba. Like it's just, you're right, and his growth has been so fucking phenomenal. Just watch him, and that North American reign showed us that this guy is the next top guy, and now he's going to get his chance to reign in NXT. So they're not rushing him, which I think is the most important thing. Let him continue to grow, get some more main event matches under his belt. Let him work with some, whether it's veterans or some other youngsters, and just kind of continue to grow, because he is going places, and this was a big step.
I will say the one thing I'm looking forward to going into this entire title reign for Obafemi is seeing how he can sell. Like, he has to learn to sell.
Sold to Tony, baby.
I know, but I want to see it more going forward. Yes, he can be a monster heel. That's totally okay. Huge Wang alert, by the way, everybody. But it's you
talking about Obafemi still?
I know, right? He's a fucking unit. By the way, Huge Wang should totally go to tpublic.com/jobberknocker, pick up he's a fucking unit t-shirt right now. Go ahead, go do it. But it's amazing to me, because I think once he figures that selling out, or his version of selling, I think that's the last checkbox. Like, I feel like in order to get to the main roster, you have to do a heel run, a babyface run, and you need to learn how to sell, and then they're ready to go. Like, it's just like, all right, if you can't do it in 2 years, you're done. So
he's going to be just fine.
By the way, this is out of control here with the amount of context that's happening in our chat here. Yes, I've got a 6 head now. Is that what you want me to say? 6 head? Is that what you said? As well as, yes, I did admit to watching an entrance. I will say this much: Netflix, I watched the entrances. So there you go, folks. I turning over a new leaf for Nestlemania. There you go.
About fucking time that you watch the best part of it.
I will say, can I put something in my shine?
Yes.
All right. Jey Uso's entrance.
Which one?
Jey Uso's entrance on Netflix with Travis Scott. I literally sat there and said, once I saw that and the drone came through the smoke, and then they had them on the fucking table doing the yeet, I thought to myself, I said, the minute somebody like a Kay Adams or a new person that has never seen this shit in the world is going to go, who the fuck is that guy? He's the life of the party. And I was sitting there thinking, and I think I tweeted it out, but it literally, it doesn't matter what the match was. The match to me was pedestrian. It was fine. It didn't really do anything for me. That entrance might have just slingshotted him into a conversation for this next 2 years to be considered in a different light, even more than he already was.
I don't know. I think it's still more of the same. It's just like, look at, like, because what was this show all about? It was all about the sizzle, baby. And we know no one has more sizzle than Jey Uso. He then wrestled. There wasn't much in that match. That was probably the low point of the entire show for me, was that match. I barely even remember it. It didn't hold my attention, but I mean, that doing the entrance of Travis Scott was fucking dope. And like Bertski said, it's like he had all that sage, baby. You know, Kyrie Irving used it to exercise demons. Travis Scott just does it because he's cool.
Thank you for saying no, Jay, on the entrance. I chuckled when I heard that in the podcast. You're right, Backcracker. You're absolutely right. I would never skip an entrance with all that stuff. So that's That's right up my wheelhouse. And that's all I like. So it is what it is. Piper Niven's entrance is better than my takes. That hurts. But you're going to say something very mean after that in the chat that I'm sure of that I can't post. So thank you. Appreciate it. Anything else that's positive that you'd like to talk about there, JC?
I have one more piece of shine, Nestlemania. You ready for this? It's 2025. So we're going to turn a new leaf. I'm going to put something from AEW in my shine. Because this might be the greatest character work AEW has ever done. Nestlemania. Tony Khan and company somehow successfully made Ricochet a heel. Let me say that again. Tony Khan and AEW successfully made, gee golly gosh, Trevor a fucking heel, and it was awesome. Like, what world are we living in? What?
I was shocked. Like
So
when I watched him walk out with his, his dumbass glasses and his he just looked like Poindexter. And then the minute the blood hit him, I was like, oh, this is American Psycho. This looks perfect. I was wrong. He looks great. And then he just kept fucking smearing it and looking around. And I'm like, where the fuck was this guy? Where was this? If the fact that was in him and it was never brought out in the WWE is a fucking crime.
Shocking.
He's already one of the best high flyers probably to ever touch a fucking mat in his life.
The best. I'll say it.
Okay.
I don't have to say it. I'll say it.
I was trying to be generous, but not too generous. All-time high flyer, right? And there's only so far you can go in the WWE. They kind of put him in a box he didn't fit in. And then, whether the TP thing worked or not, but last Wednesday with the blood and the suit, I was just like, he might be, with the exception of Tony Storm. I think I'm also interested in the Tony Storm stuff. That makes me giggle.
Finally made an AEW debut recently.
I just think that they're turning a page on certain things that totally work. And I'm excited for them because they need to figure their shit out. So when I saw Ricochet, I went, finally something I can hold on to and enjoy.
Yeah, this was the most excited that I came out of an AEW segment in a long time. I was just like, wow. I was blown away. And it was really good. And I'm really excited for where it's going.
Yeah. I mean, look, he deserves it. I don't know if he'll ever be world champion. If he is, this is the place for him. In
my opinion. But if he does, you're right. It's there.
Yeah. I mean, he's doing great stuff. I'm not necessarily sold on the promo, but I want to see where the promo goes with this character in particular. Get away from the aha and all that nonsense. Fine. I'm in. But if there's a vindictive person behind there, I want to see where this goes. So
me too. Should we get in the heat?
Shall we? Get him off my TV. Get him off my TV. Get him off my TV.
Dun, 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 dun. I am a real big piece of shit. I am racist and should be thrown in jail because I look like an idiot and have stupid hair. I fight for nobody's rights. I sure don't. I fucked it up at the end there, but I thought I did pretty good there for a while.
Boo Earns is right. Boo Earns.
Yeah, this fucking loser. We knew when we saw it. It's just one of those things. It's like, I think WWE was in on this bit because you don't go to Los Angeles, and parade out this fucking racist fucking loser. Because there's only one reaction. And the best part was him actually looking surprised that it was happening because in his fucking dense egomaniacal mind, he has no fucking idea that he just like, bro, you are a piece of shit and people don't like you. So
I think when I was watching it, I wasn't surprised because of the location and obviously his political affiliation. But here's the thing. You can say what you want about the political association. You can say about where they were. But
it's even beyond that, though. He's literally racist.
I was going to say, he
doesn't like black people.
I was going to say the racism part is pretty difficult to overcome.
Yeah.
I mean, political things, people change their minds, flip-flop, whatever.
It's also a wrestling fan, so it's
right. But the racism stuff is really difficult. And when they paraded him out, I'm like, okay, this is an advertisement for his beer, whatever, fine. But then you could tell though, because he paused a couple of seconds. I think he's smart enough to look around and be like, well, I could go off script here and make this work. But I think he stuck to the script because he knew better. Because if he just went off script, they'd be like, what the fuck was that? But I mean, there's been talk, right? Like if you believe what you hear, right? You know, maybe they'll bring him back as a heel. Like I think that's even worse personally, but I think if you
If
have
he
to
is
do it,
going to do that shit again, it won't be in WWE.
I was gonna say they must just have they if they're gonna use him going forward, pre-produce it. Just pre-produce it. Don't let him go in front of the live crowd anymore. Let him do voiceover work. Let him do whatever, but never live out in front of the crowd for probably ever again.
I
That'd be
mean,
my
that's why,
thought.
honestly, when they said this appearance, I fully expected it to be just like a backstage interaction with people, and maybe with like the New Day, and they could like go, oh, they both hate Big E because and that would be kind of like a ha ha he he thing. But no, they sent him out in front of a live crowd, which makes me think they're in the bit. Like Triple H and the boys were probably sitting back there cackling with their headsets off because they knew exactly what was going to fucking happen. I can't imagine a lot of people back there are big fans of his either. So
You know what I saw, which it was like, so every once in a while I do love a good conspiracy theory. And I was just like, I could fall into this and believe it 100% hook, line, and sinker. Someone was saying, okay, people want to disassociate themselves from Vince McMahon and everything the WWE was, including Triple H. So who drove Vince McMahon's WWF? Hulk Hogan. So to disenchant yourself from the old WWE stuff and move on from that and go on to the new stuff, you got to have to do something very specific. So to lend what you said, JC, was they were like, they're going to boo Vince McMahon, anything that happens, and disassociate themselves from that. Hulk Hogan by association will be disenchanted from that as well. And that entire thing happened on purpose to get him his ad sale revenue and whatever. And just, that's the last they see of Hulk Hogan live. Like, that's it. Like, he's done. Like, this is a brand new WWE. They are going to get rid of all the bad shit possible. And they're going to move on from anybody that even has any stock in it that from the past that is just bad for business. And he's probably bad for business. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, it's just not worth it. He's just not worth it. But I'm sure it was one of those things like with Netflix. They're like, oh yeah, can we get there's probably one rich exec back there. It's like, I was a big Hulkster fan. Can we get him on the show? And Triple H was like, yeah, sure, why not? And he was like, yeah, I'm all in on that conspiracy. But yeah, no, it's the heat. So we had to kick it off with that piece of shit. But where else would you like to go, Nestlemania?
So I can't believe I'm bringing this up because you're the Cody guy. It felt weird that they didn't, like, I get that Cody's on SmackDown and I understand that. But this was Netflix. Cody Rhodes is QB1.
He was literally like the first person they showed.
No, I'm just saying
his cock live on TV, and then he ran out in the first match and brawled with Kevin Owens to continue to sell their ladder match.
I'm just saying between him and Gunther, I felt like that was a disservice to your champion.
Gunther's a different one, but it's like you gave your superstar of the year to someone who couldn't even fucking be live on the show as a champion. So
that's not his fault. That's their fault.
I'm just saying that's how he's viewed. So that hence it just proved my point even more. I felt good watching that. But oh yeah, Gunther should have been on this show. He should have been.
He's the champion of Raw. He should have been on the show.
I agree. He should have been. But the Cody one, like they showed him off. People like he's one of the logos you can pick on Netflix. I don't think Gunther is. I think he's like him, Punk, Roman, and.
But in the grand scheme of things, right? He didn't come out as the most popular character I'm just trying to put myself in a I'm turning on Netflix Monday. I've never seen wrestling in my life. Cody Rhodes seemed like just another guy.
He was literally the first person they showed. Like they literally immediately, like it's one of those, like we knew he wasn't wrestling because part of the storyline, they need him at the Rumble, as we've seen. And it's just like, this was Roman match and then Punk and Seth. Like those were the selling points. It was a Roman match and Punk and Seth with the wrestling. Punk and Seth are your main Raw superstars. That's why they main event. But yeah, Gunther should have been part of this show, whether it was a match or it should have been an in-ring segment. And not having him there, I think, did him a disservice. I thought they did a great job with everyone else, like having Lyra and Dakota in the crowd to do their match for next week. And they even had the War Raiders there, and they made sure that we knew that they were the tag champions, all that. But, like, the Gunther one was weird. The promo was great. But then again, I will say this, like, Logan Paul also had a vignette, and I believe they showed him in the crowd, but, like, he didn't even have a segment either. And they're selling him as part of this. So it's just one of those things, like, it's like, you know, I'm not super outraged about it, but I did think it was odd that Gunther wasn't there.
I mean, I really did enjoy the other people in the crowd because I get it. It's a TKO presentation. When you go to watch a UFC event, other champions who are not on the card, who have fought previously, are waiting to see who's facing in the ring to face the next person are there. Then they have a face off and stuff like that. I totally get that logic. So none of that bothered me. I really loved watching the celebrities too. I got a pop for a bunch of them. I thought that was great and wonderful because, again, it makes it feel bigger. The presentation overall was really big. So I really did enjoy it. But just something about both of those champions to me just felt like, I'll say it. I get it. Obviously, I have to tailor my bias here. But I don't think The Rock did anything on the Netflix side, in my opinion.
He's the fucking Rock. People want to see The Rock.
No, I understand
The Rock wants to see The Rock. But here's the thing, Nestlemania. We didn't get The Rock. I don't know why people kept saying The Rock showed up. The Rock didn't show up.
Dwayne showed up.
Fucking Dwayne showed up. Dwayne showed up. He cut a promo. He said he acknowledged Cody before Roman, which I thought was fucking hilarious. He didn't even acknowledge Tribal Chief first. He acknowledged Cody first. But then there's one of those things, and then Dwayne leaves, and I'm like, okay, maybe we'll see The Rock part of Tribal Combat. Sure enough, out he comes to talk to Roman. But guess what, Nestlemania? It was fucking Dwayne again. We got Dwayne twice. And guess what? Next night at NXT, guess who showed up? Dwayne and Ava's daddy. We didn't see The Rock. The Rock, it's just, that's why I'm thinking it's like, yes, they set it up where if you wanted to do Rock Roman, it's there. And that's why I think if The Rock wrestles at WrestleMania, it's Roman. But my big takeaway from the last couple nights is The Rock isn't wrestling at WrestleMania. He'll probably be there for sure. But it feels like he's skipping the wrestling this year because we obviously know last year he really wanted to wrestle Cody this year because he saw it was a top thing. He wanted to do title for title with the fucking thing he's carrying around. But it just, my takeaway from Netflix was I don't think The Rock's wrestling at WrestleMania this year. I think Dwayne will be there, but The Rock ain't wrestling.
We'll see. I mean, life's a mystery, right? I want to give a special shout out to Travis Berg Jr. there, who's liked and subscribed.
Thanks,
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. To be a friend, tell a friend if you're liking what we do here, because we really need we need a lot of conversation. We're only as good as the people that we interact with. So we appreciate you listening and watching and talking to us because we really love the wrestling community as much as they love us. So anything else that you didn't like, JC? Because I could go on and on and on. I mean, there was a particular old ass on a motorcycle. I don't know.
Oh. Poor Rhea. Rhea wins the title. Great moment for Rhea. And she's interrupted by that fucking clout-chasing geriatric fucking goon. But I will say this, Nestlemania. The whole mini shine of this, at least it was Biker Taker, so he wasn't there very long. He drove around the ring, and then he couldn't even pick Rhea up. He just stood next to her. And it's just like, this fucking guy. I will say, though, I fucking love that song, so I popped for it. Like, that's my favorite version of Taker because it makes his entrances shorter. But, yeah, that was so fucking forced, and it was like, this is where we're shoehorning this fucking goober in to fucking Rhea's celebration. Oh, man.
I will say, as much as I love the gong and him just showing up and doing something in the ring, that's fine. But when I watched him kind of old man turn around, I was just like, he's waddling on the bike. And there's something about those. I've never ridden a motorcycle in my life, so who am I to fucking judge? But I kept thinking to myself, he's just waddling this giant piece of equipment. Well, you just hear I am an American badass. You're just and then of course poor Rhea's just sitting there great. And now what do I do? Okay, yeah, we'll do I would argue, and again, I'm probably wrong. I think her getting the Undertaker rub made it worse for her than it did doing something for her.
I think mostly nothing to her, but yeah, it wasn't necessary, but I guess it was a way to shoehorn this guy in where he isn't his own thing. And I think that's the small little bit of good. But yeah, it did take away from the Rhea moment just a little bit, but I don't think it hurt her.
May I just make a caveat?
Sure.
I know Joe just made, Biker Taker will always make me smile. We do the
love that song. You've done it now. But you've gone and made a big mistake.
May I make a bold statement? I don't think anybody's gonna want to see Biker Taker over the Undertaker.
That's why they did the gun.
But I'm just saying, he wanted to retire the Undertaker. I understand that. but you can't do anything with Biker Taker unless he's waddling out on his fucking motorcycle. That's all you can do. It just feels like with the Undertaker, you can do things, different spots, whatever. But when you have Mark Calloway on a bike, it just feels like you're handcuffed. Like he's literally just doing his fucking thing. Like he's just, like that's all he's doing. I don't know.
I'm okay with it because it's way shorter.
Sure, I know
he's gonna like they can't say no to him. He's one of those guys who can't say no to. He wants to be part of this stuff, which whatever. Like who knows? Maybe he's in the back giving a ton of young guys advice and young guys and girls and like whatever, motivating them, and they think it's cool. And like that part of it, I think is awesome because from everything you hear about them, that's kind of the stuff he does. But it just in terms of on TV, like give me the American Badass all day because it's a lot quicker, man. And I have a lot of other people I want to see on this show. And if I'm going to be force fed this guy, no matter what, give me the fucking guy who waddles on a bike, which has wheels and moves faster than a fucking guy who's going to waddle on his own 2 feet in a fucking robe.
I can't wait for the day that he's so old, it's a tricycle.
Honestly, he should come out a trike because then he wouldn't.
Honest to God, like the longer he goes, the more I'm convinced it's going to be more pathetic.
I'd respect him more.
What, for a tricycle?
Yeah, just own it, bro. We're all going one way. You're just way far ahead of we are. You can embrace it. It's not that big of a deal.
I don't know. All I kept thinking was this was a waste of my time. You want to talk about shoehorn? This is the biggest shoehorn.
It was a short waste of time. But Nestlemania, you know what else was a waste of time? You know what? Let's stick with the old person theme and let's go to AEW and let's talk about Cope.
Oh Jesus.
The Cope Dope. I've literally been calling him the Cope Dope as a joke, and he liked it so much he just wants to go by Cope now. Cope.
He did say that the rated R superstar Adam Copeland is too wordy. That's all. I'm just saying.
He is a special kind of special.
You know what's funny to me? And look, I know you love FTR and all that shit.
I don't give a fuck about what do they call rated FTR.
Rated FTR. Out of my face. All I kept laughing at was like, I love Dax. I think I love his passion for wrestling. I love how he steps up, speaks his mind. I love all that shit. But when he was slobbering all over the knob of Cop,
I mean, it's his fucking mentor. It's the guy who lives
there. But he's just like
his really good friends. Of course he is.
But it was just like, Jesus fucking Christ. Like, I would argue as well that Cope has tarnished his legacy being in AEW. That's my thought. He didn't need to go there. He
not
wants
enough
to have
people
fun.
Watch AEW for it to tarnish his legacy enough. Like if he showed up at Raw Netflix, he would have got one of the biggest pops and people would have been fucking hyped. I don't think it hurts him at all because there's fucking 400,000 people that watch it a week. So it's just like, and those people who are watching it are mostly fucking diehards that would lick his jock if you let him. So. But we can make fun of him. That's what we're here for. And Joe, yeah, we're not. You think I'm gonna forget about this motherfucker wanting us to call him Cope? I ain't gonna cope with that. But it rhymes with dope. Cope dope, baby.
I feel like we should create a Coca-Cola like looking T-shirt instead of Coke. It just says Cope. I think
Cope dope.
Cope dope. Or like like those presidential candidates, like the catchy Cope is a dope would totally work. So.
He just can't get out of his own way. I'll always love Edge. I think he's great. He's not as good as Christian, who's one of my favorites.
Not as good as Christian.
But that doesn't mean he's not great. And it's just like he just always pulls shit like this, and I have to laugh at him. I have to. This was just fucking hilarious for me. We can move on, but I thought it was hilarious.
All right. Anything else that you have that was negative?
I don't know. I guess the rest of it I just don't really care about. DIY got new music.
Yeah, great, wonderful. I mean, it is
better than the other one.
Yeah. Oh, well, it fits the characters better. Absolutely. I tend to agree with that. I just felt like there's a DQ and I'm like, okay, we've got,
your boys that caused it.
Listen, I'm not upset that Pretty Deadly is in the running, but we all know they ain't winning those tag titles.
They're on TV though, Adam. That's the most important thing.
Who the fuck is Adam? Secondly,
you are.
No, I'm not. It says Nestlemania right there. We are JKP. Jabber Knocker Podcast. I don't know. It just I'm excited to see what happens. Did you know, by the way, that weird nugget that came out of Triple H's mouth, by the way, did you hear it? That he said on the Pat McAfee show, he said SmackDown's 3 hours for now.
Yeah, because it's changing back over the summer to 2 hours.
Yeet from Marcus. Hey, what's up, Marcus? Thank you for
Marcus?
dropping in. Appreciate you. Check out his stuff. He's got some good stuff going on as well. There's something about the whole idea of it that kind of just makes me go, huh? But whatever. It's fine. It's fine.
Yeah, no, there's probably a logistical reason. Like whatever it's like season wise, there's probably something that changes lineup wise and whatever. But it is kind of funny that they're literally doing it for like 6 months. But yeah, whatever.
You're on
during WrestleMania season. The extra hour doesn't hurt. So
I agree.
It means that people that would normally be off TV will still get time. So.
Right. And maybe this is going to be a seasonal thing. We don't know, right? Maybe
it might be. Yeah, maybe it's a thing that every year is January through June, and then whatever.
That's fine. I'm okay with that. I will say it's a little bit weirder on a Friday though. Like I have to get used to the 3 hours on Friday.
I always am watching SmackDown either if I'm getting home from work Friday night or like trying to fit it in over the weekend. And yeah, that extra hour sometimes can be tough to squeeze in on the weekend.
Yeah. Anything else, or you just want to get
you are my only hope.
You're my only hope. Go ahead, Joshua.
Well, I had a hope. I don't know if I want to hope for it anymore. So here we are. I'm going to vamp a little bit while something comes to my mind. But originally, my hope was going to be trying to come up with like the WrestleMania main events, whether it's like Cody. But I want to kind of talk this through because I do kind of really want Cody Cena at Mania, but I also don't want Cody Cena at Mania. I could be talked into Cody Punk is interesting, but I also kind of really want Punk and Roman. So if we're doing Punk and Roman, then I need to find someone else for Cody. And if it's not Cena, I don't know who I would want. So I'm just all over the place with this hope because I think I want Cody Cena and Roman Punk, but I could change my mind in 3 minutes. What say you?
Okay. I'm probably wrong for what I'm about to say. And I'm sure the chat's going to light me up for this. But in my opinion, as much as on a billboard, Cena versus Cody would be phenomenal. I think the actual match will be 100% people cheering for Cena to win the championship and booing Cody, which I don't necessarily think is a good thing that you should do. That's all I'm saying.
And I think it'd be more of like both guys will be super over, but people will be cheering for Cena because they want the moment.
And I think
WWE, something like that excites them in this new world of wrestling we live in because you put that on a fucking billboard. You have the guy who's been champion for a year, who's been dominant and doesn't fucking lose pretty much ever, facing the guy who's trying to break a record. Like it's one of those things, like the promos will be good. There's like the mentor thing. So it's one of those, it's not your stereotypical good guy, bad guy feud, but there's a lot of aspects of it that excite me, but it's also like, do we want to do this now? Because obviously if it's Cody Cena, like, yeah, he could win and have the moment, but it's also an easy guy where Cena could lose to, and the journey continues the rest of the year of him chasing the title. So I don't know. It's one of those, like, as like I've thought more and more about it. I'm like, I think that's honestly in terms of Cody, like Cena and Punk make the most sense, which in terms of in-ring, like that's not going to be the most optimal use of Cody because we're talking about two older gentlemen who aren't washed, but are a lot closer to washed than prime. So, but it's just like, it's more of like, we know WrestleMania, it's much more of a gaga show than a wrestling show for a lot of, they'll have plenty of good wrestling, but it won't be on the high parts of the card.
Right. Okay. That's fine. I mean, I think the more I'm talking myself into it, I think Roman and Punk is probably a lock.
I really like Roman Punk because of how they set it up, but it's also like, I feel like Punk needs to win a title. So how does Roman get Gunther's title?
Here's the thing. I don't think Roman's the one winning like the championship.
So you think Roman could win the Rumble and Punk maybe wins the title at Chamber?
No, here's the thing. What could happen, right? I think Punk and Gunther seems more logical at this point, considering they've had the matches on live events, that you could get Punk to win the championship by hook or by crook somehow. I don't know how. Maybe he doesn't win the Royal Rumble. Maybe he wins it at Elimination Chamber or
He
something.
could, but then that kind of defeats the purpose of the favor, because it feels like the
Oh,
favor.
no. Let me finish,
Okay.
because this is kind of my thing, right?
Okay.
If you're gonna use the favor here, you use the favor to leverage the whole kit and caboodle of what the WrestleMania storyline is based on. Because then you're wondering the entire time what the favor is. And then you find out that the favor would be that Punk would get Heyman to turn on Roman Reigns, either leading into WrestleMania or at WrestleMania. And I think if you can leverage the favor as the basis of the storyline, I think there's a lot of intrigue and a lot of feeling like Heyman could be backstabbing him. You could have some twists and turns there that I think would be really good. But I think Roman versus Gunther to get the title would be a great idea anyway. But I think Punk winning the championship would be pretty fucking cool leading in. I don't know. It's just my thought. I don't know.
Yeah, no, it's interesting because obviously Punk's story isn't necessarily winning the title at WrestleMania. It's main eventing a WrestleMania.
Right.
So he could be the standing champion, which obviously, yeah, because like his path to Gunther is like, I kind of expected that to be the match at the Rumble, but it sure sounds like Punk is in the Rumble. So that's why I'm like, oh, then maybe Punk wins the Rumble. There's definitely a scenario where he wins the title, but then it means that means you think Roman would win the Rumble then.
I think there's a shot. I really do.
He's probably 3 on my list at the moment, but
the only reason I say that is because I feel like Punk would be a good idea for the Rumble winner if that's what the way they're going to go. That's fine. Cena too is fine. But I feel like Roman Reigns isn't like, he's got a fresh coat of paint now. He can do whatever he wants. He can go in any direction he wants to go in. So him winning the Royal Rumble would upset a lot of people, I think, but not too many people.
I don't know. Upset people. I think any of these 3 guys, the place would go bonkers.
Yeah. I feel like the stare down at the Royal Rumble to have Roman Reigns and CM Punk, like, even if they're not final 2, there should be some type of, oh, Bubba, here we're going for it kind of moment. Because if it's not Punk and Roman at the end, it should be Punk and Cena. You know what I mean? Like, either way, those should be the final 2 in my opinion.
Cena coming in second feels like a lock to me.
Okay.
He feels like Cena, whether he wins or like Cena feels like a top 2 no matter what.
I mean, the disappointment factor losing at the end would be through the roof. So
yeah, because then you get the person celebrating, you get him like with the Cody shot, the sad sitting shot, like as the pyro's going off. Like they'll use in the package all fucking year.
Yeah, I mean, I think John Cena set the table pretty well to be like, look, I'm gonna make you guys work for this. Like, yeah. I don't think he's going to win. If it's gonna happen, it's gonna be like fall or towards the end.
Yeah.
Like even the last day, maybe. But like, I don't see it happening at WrestleMania.
Even if he wins the Rumble, I think he'd lose at Mania.
Yeah, I'm not confident that they're gonna just give you the storybook ending right there. Because I don't think that's important to him. I think it's important for him to say his goodbye. Like
I still maintain that I don't think he's gonna break it. Like I don't think he wants to break it. Maybe WWE will be like, look, you're breaking it, but he seems like the guy that he's like, it's one of those things like he's like, I'm fine coming up short. Like I don't need that legacy because he has his own legacy that he's written and is beautiful. So I don't know. But obviously if WWE wants to happen, it'll happen. But it's just, I don't know. There's still kind of part of me that feels like, yeah, he's just not going to break it. And he's probably going to come up short 3 times this year. But we'll see.
It's going to be fascinating to watch. But the more we talk about it, I think my hope really is to have, I think having Roman come into the championship, or I'm sorry, having Roman win the Rumble is interesting to me because I feel like this is the first time where Roman is the babyface. We've like universally loved babyface, which has never happened in the 12 years he's been there.
Yep.
So I think this is an amazing establishing moment. Like, just think about this for a moment. Right? Like, imagine Punk's supposed to fucking win this thing and gets dumped out by Roman Reigns, because you're not making Roman Reigns a heel again. You've worked too hard to make Roman Reigns the good guy. Like, you've tried it for so long. Punk being the bad guy would make this even better.
Yeah.
Especially with the Paul Heyman turn. It would make it even sweeter. So I feel like this is where the favorite comes in. Having Roman win the championship early, Punk, I just think it works. I just something about it that makes it work for me. So I feel like this is going to be happening. Roman Reigns could potentially win the Royal Rumble here.
Interesting.
There you go.
There you go. I'm glad we talked it out. Hashtag JC knows. Hashtag JC's hopes come true.
Hashtag Nestle knows. Maybe sort of kind
of. Nestle picks his nose.
Yeah, there you go. Oh, that's for the Joe.
You don't even have gold up there. You have a bronze up there. You're not even good enough to have gold.
Bronze. I've got bronze. All right. Anyway, I hate people who pick their nose. I think it's disgusting. Anyway, shall we get to our comeback?
Don't call it a comeback. Been here for years. I'm going to AEW, Nestlemania. Look at this. More positive AEW. But my favorite entrance in AEW is officially back. And Julia Hart is getting my comeback. But the other reason, you know why I love her? Not just because she has the best entrance in AEW, but she fucking missed people too. The Black Mist. Like it's two like things that JC loves. And you put them together. And Julia Hart became one of the better characters last year before her injury. She had a phenomenal run with that TBS title. Her character work was great. And she's back now. She beat Jamie Hayter via Mist last week. So another one of my favorites. So, but I'm just happy to have her back because the AEW women's division gets a lot of heat. I do think they are very top heavy in terms of they have some talent, but just adding someone like Julia in, it gives someone else for these people to work with. And I think that's exciting for AEW in 2025. So she gets my comeback.
I was a little upset that they didn't do Jamie Hayter any justice there, but that's okay. It's all right.
She's fine. Slow climb.
I don't know. There's something about her. I feel like since she came back, they can't find something to do with her. So they're just
because they just like ignored like the Britt Baker stuff. And that's that's
Britt Baker's fault. Probably.
I know, but it's just like, it's one of those, like, until that happens or it's going to be hard. And it's also like they bury her on Collision and the shows that people just don't watch as much. So, but she's so talented that she will get her time.
I just love me some Jamie Hayter.
I do too. Hayter in the house.
It's just so great. So fucking great. My comeback goes to a match, two women who put on a fucking clinic on SmackDown, Nia and Naomi. I thought this match was fantastic. I loved it. I mean, the closing minutes and the cash-in were probably, like, to me, I know we just started the new year, but man, I thought that was so well booked and so well.
That was the best moment of 2025 so far.
Yes. Put it on the list so far on the knockers. Just because
it might already be there, Adam. I might already be way ahead of you.
That's fine. I just think this match was super fucking great. I think Nia deserves her flowers for being as much shit as she has gotten for being unsafe and whatever you want to add there. I loved Nia Jax. I thought she was fantastic. I think she's been doing a great job in this run. She's been doing yeoman's work carrying that championship. I kind of like the Tiffy stuff that they've been going back and forth. Candice as well. And then, of course, Naomi, who I think is just, since she's come back from TNA, seems like she's found her groove and doing things. We still have that Jade reveal that's going on here. So it is what it is. Bertsky says he's got something. Oh, I got something for the Heat, he said. Oh, boy. I don't know what that means.
Couple segments late, but we'll take it.
I know, Jesus. He probably fell asleep and fucking, I don't know, was eating chicken.
It is Bert. Bert does fall asleep a lot. So
yeah, he fell asleep. We're too, yeah. I don't know. Oh, Jesus. Here you go.
Yeah, no, we didn't talk about this. So we'll get into the big old finish here, and we'll make this our first topic.
Okay.
We kind of had rumors about this, and it might have been confirmed to us by someone who knew. But yeah, the Royal Rumble will be in Saudi Arabia in 2026. To say that people are upset about this would be an understatement. I think it was always going this way because we saw them get that fake Royal Rumble, and we know how much they pay, and this is something they wanted. So it felt like it was going to happen at some point. I didn't expect it would happen in 2026, but money talks. Money talks. And yeah, I mean, I'm not thrilled about it either because not to say they're a bad crowd over there, but it is a different crowd. And the Royal Rumble is such a crowd event that's the part that's disappointing for me. The time difference and all that shit. Like, I don't mind stuff being on during the day. Like, my favorite like UFC pay-per-views are the ones in like London and stuff and on during the day and stuff. So that doesn't bother me. But yeah, no, it's one of those, them getting a big four and them getting the actual Royal Rumble. They're going to have a WrestleMania sooner rather than later, it feels like, too. So it feels like the first step. But yeah, I'm not going to say I'm throwing a tantrum like most people, but I'm not thrilled either.
So I think the one thing I will say is, I had to do the math in my head. I think that means that it would be 1 o'clock or 11 o'clock. I think it was like 11 o'clock start time in the morning for us. So
I
I'm thinking
bet you they'll make it later because the UFC pay-per-views, they normally don't start till like afternoon.
that's fine.
The prelims will start in the morning, but no, my guess is it would be noon at the earliest.
But still, that's like to be watching the Rumble at noon would be kind of odd to me. I think the hardest part that I think is that's the positive, obviously the money and what they can do with it. I think the hardest part is trying to think to yourself, like a CM Punk will not be there, so he's out of the Rumble contention. Like, I feel like by doing it, you're doing a disservice in terms of who will come, who won't come. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like
They can have whoever the fuck they want win it.
Right. Right. But I just feel like you're going to get like randos coming out because they want a fucking Saudi check, which I understand. But the people who clearly won't go to Saudi Arabia will not show up. And some of these people are movers and shakers. And that bothers me. I think the other thing too is, and again, I could be 100% completely wrong, but I feel like Saudi Arabia won't react to the surprises of the Royal Rumble the way that
it's a different crowd for
yes.
sure.
And I feel like that ruins, like, we'll be excited when we see it, but I feel like this has been, regardless of where it is, whether it's in France, whatever, the crowd makes me more hyped and energetic as a fan watching at home. And I've never watched a Saudi Arabia show and gone like, I'm hyped because the crowd is feeding it. I know they go over there for a particular reason, and that's fine, but it's the Royal Rumble to me. And even this year, I'm going to miss it live for the first time in my life. And I'm very still upset about this. But nothing I can do about it. But like, that's my event, right? Like, that's my event to watch with my pals, to watch with my buddies and my family, and like just have a good fucking time. That's when the casuals come back in. You get that spark, that feeling, that wonderful. And I just feel like it will tarnish it just for a little bit. That's all.
Yeah, no, like I said, I'm not thrilled about it, but yeah, it felt like it was always going this way. Unfortunately, but Nestlemania, we do have some things to talk about in the week coming. On SmackDown, we have, I believe it is a rematch for the U.S. title. Nakamura taking on the Yes Man. Yeah, LA Knight.
Don't care. Move on.
LA Knight might win it back now that Nakamura is taking it over to Noah. We go to Raw Nestlemania, and this card we're back to being Raw is for the wrestling fans because we have Gable taking on a very special luchador. It's not the future of Lucha Libre Dragon Lee. It'll be Penta, and I am so fucking hyped for this.
Hold on. So the future of Lucha Libre, but yes. What did Gable ask for? The best luchador.
Yeah, who is Penta?
Ever.
He didn't say ever because that would have been Rey Mysterio. But he didn't ask for the future of Lucha Libre. He asked for the present of Lucha Libre, which is Penta.
I started laughing when someone was like, he's not even the best wrestler in his family. And she's like, Jesus.
I mean, he's not wrong. I do fucking love Phoenix. And when he shows up, I'm going to be so hyped too. And they're going to be a great tag team as they always are. But I mean, Penta's just as cool. He has like the best look of any luchador. Like when he gets, like, he has the best.
I think the mask plus the makeup makes it look
He has
cool.
the best look. He always has. He always will. Like, that's what makes him cool. Like, even people who don't like luchadors and masked wrestlers, like, Penta's fucking cool. You'll like him. So I'm excited for that. We have the finals for the women's Intercontinental Championship. Lyra Valkyria versus Dakota Kai. We got two baby faces here in Nestlemania. Who you got?
I think I'm going to be wrong about this. Dakota Kai is going to win. I don't know.
Well, you ruined Lyra's 2024, so I'm glad you're not ruining her 2025. But yeah, I think that Lyra's going to win. I've thought Dakota
I wouldn't be
the whole
surprised.
time. I'm flip-flopping now, though. It feels like, especially given the reaction she got on Monday, too, it's like, yeah, on the internet, it's like, we'd love this for Dakota, but it just feels like Lyra, like, this is a stepping stone that makes sense, which doesn't mean she needs it now. Like, they could just have Dakota win it and Lyra eventually get it, but I don't know. I'm beginning to think that this is Lyra's time. Then we have a rematch of a banger after a banger. It's a rerun in a good way. Sheamus versus Ludwig.
I don't know why they're running it back, but maybe they're resetting it to get people to know who they are. And they're just
know it's going to be a good match.
Yeah.
It's like, let's get these guys on TV.
Yeah, get them on TV and understand, like, hey, in case you didn't know, here's these two guys who fight really hard. So, you know.
And in the feud that never ends, we have a street fight between Finn Balor and Damian Priest.
Well, I feel like big, I was going to call him Big Sexy. That's not true. I mean, he is sexy, I guess, to some people. Especially.
Hayden Carter thinks he's sexy.
There you go. I was just going to say it. Here she is. But this should probably main event. I would think at this point. I mean, based
Judging
on
by the
everything.
rest of the card, yeah, I think this is the main event.
And I mean, adding a stip, a gimmick per se, would be working. I think hopefully this is the feud ender here. I would hope, but maybe not.
I mean, they'll feud throughout the Rumble, but doing this now, it makes it feel like, okay, maybe we really won't drag this out to WrestleMania, but you never know.
Yeah, I don't know. By the way, I just want to say this about Bertsky real quick. He did say this. Penta has an aura that all luchadors in WWE have never had aside from Rey. None of the other full-masked mid-card Sin Caras of the world, nobody took seriously. Penta will draw people in ASAP. I don't disagree.
Penta's fucking cool. There's not an easier way to put it. Like, Penta's fucking cool.
Zero miedo. Like, it just...
Yeah. He's fucking cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's going to be fun to watch. I think
I'm excited.
And
having
Gable,
him start off with Gable, like, mwah.
You couldn't ask for a better dance partner. So this is going to be fun.
Yes, sir.
Anything else?
I think we're good, Nestlemania. We're written in 2025 in style, and we'll be back to Tuesdays the rest of the month, boys and girls. So keep your peepers popped.
And make sure to buy a He's a Fucking Unit, any merchandise at tpublic.com/jobberknocker. I just every time I see it, it makes me giggle.
I still gotta get one. I gotta do an order. I haven't done an order in a minute.
I know we got to do that. On that note, thank you for listening and watching the Jobber Knocker podcast. We'll be back next week, with some more Jobber Knockery.
Boom, boom, boom.